Any chance of a Super Bowl hang? Oh, do you want to see the historical stats on Super Bowl hangover? Here's the historical stats on the Super Bowl hangover Josh has. Only 5% of teams have won the Super Bowl after losing the Super Bowl. 9% lost the Super Bowl. If we go all the way down on the bottom, 31% have missed the playoffs.
The problem with this graphic is
this is
you tried to sell me this bill of goods a few years ago, and the Chiefs found themselves in the conference championship game with 12 wins once again after when they lost to the Bucs. Now they didn't win make or win the Super Bowl that year. They
12%.
They had the worst season of the entire Patrick Mahomes era. It was kind of embarrassing. They won 12 games and lost in overtime the AFC title game. Totally unacceptable. I find the casual, flippant, in places other than here, disrespect and just moving past the Chiefs dynasty, inexplicable. Because there was no point in Peyton Manning's heyday that people were like, you know what? This is the Titans' year. This is the Texans' year, and there was good reason for that.
Just for the division.
I'm talking about, but that's where it's starting with Kansas City. Is a lot of people have them as a wild card team this year, where the Colts from 2003 to 2010, when after that Peyton got hurt, they won the division every year except one. They actually didn't do it once, but they won 12 games that year. It was just the Titans had a 6th season. The Patriots from 2003 to 19 won the division literally every year except the year Brady blew his ACL. And so the idea that the Chiefs, we have reason to believe we are in a different phase of the Chiefs when all of these active streaks are active. Division titles. It's the Chiefs, and this is also kind of a Bills stat to the previous conversation, but we can show it to you. Division titles, longest active streak. Chiefs have 9, Bills have 5. It's the second longest of all time to the Patriots. What about 11-plus win seasons? All right, the Chiefs have 7. The Bills have 5. It's the second longest of all time. What about years where you win at least one playoff game? The Chiefs have 7. The Bills have 1. That's 1.
Okay, but this is what's so funny about this. Why do you think it's consistently the Chiefs and the Bills? Because they both are they were in awful, awful, awful divisions. Awful divisions. The Chiefs and the Bills have been able to feast and coast during the regular season because they've had awful divisions, just like the New England Patriots did. Like, that's how that works. It's not about the greatness of the Chiefs or the Bills. Obviously, both those teams are great, but that says so much more about the division itself. So using this is we're playing the shell game here. Like talking about these streaks and this or that, it's really easy when you got 6 games a year that like there's a great chance that we're going to win all 6 or 5. Like it's just like it's a huge luxury. And to now try to play this whole crying wolf thing about, everyone's doubting the Chiefs. First off, the vast, vast, vast majority of people are not. That's number one. So let's not pretend like it's otherwise. That's number one. And number two, the division has gotten significantly better. Even Nick would admit that. So that's why now people are kind of just like, let's see what, let's see kind of what happens here. And it's just like, it's not that controversial. It's really not. Do you think the New England Patriots were winning that division year after year after year if this Buffalo Bills team was there? Of course not. Of course not. Drake May reportedly is balling in camp. If the Patriots actually build a great team and Drake May is a legitimate top 10 quarterback in the NFL, do you think that the Buffalo Bills are just going to be coasting and winning the division? Of course not. Absolutely not. So it's no wonder that these teams have been able to win the division, come away with the longest active streaks of the division, of getting a playoff win, because majority of the time you're going to have a favorable outcome, a favorable playoffs matchup when you win the division, and especially when you're home and whatnot. It's a combination of obviously being great teams, as well as having just being able to feast in the division. And so I think there's exactly zero chance of a Super Bowl hangover. That I'm confident about here. But let's look at this. I mean, I do find it funny though, because Nick's trying to go through all the streaks and stuff like this as like that means anything, and it really doesn't. And I disarmed that before when he was like the longest win streak, or one of the longest win streaks ever, because when they hadn't lost since like December of last year. Then he's like the longest win streak in the playoffs history, and only to the blah blah blah. And I went through all like the actual streaks, and I was just like, first off, like you could see all these other teams ahead of them, and you're really like emphasizing things that only matter so much, as well as the fact that the one playoff streak and the regular season win streak all comes to an end. So using just streaks as a frame of reference as to why something can't happen, it's not actual real logic. It's not an actual real take. This is useful information. It is interesting because it is obviously a massive sample size. But when you're talking about a historically great team, on a historically great franchise, a historically great coach and quarterback combination, if the average player only reaches a Super Bowl only 14% of the time, or loses a conference championship 12% of the time, and the vast majority, right, 31%, miss the playoffs, that's for the, I don't want to say average Joes, but just the non-truly exceptional and historical teams. So it's just like, and obviously this is going to be made up numbers, but let's try to think of a team that lost the Super Bowl. Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. It's just like, okay. Or Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. It's just like, all right, they have a 31% chance to miss the playoffs. But Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs with Spags and Andy Reid, their percent of missing the playoffs, 20%, 10%, right? Like it would be slashed relative to anything else that we could see. If there's a 14% chance, 14% of them lose the wild card, it's like the Chiefs have 6% chance to lose the wild card. You understand what I'm saying? This is like the percentages get slashed. Those numbers, that's why I keep saying, like, those numbers are not going to be predictors of what the actual Chiefs odds are, because they're factoring in teams and quarterbacks and coaches that are not even remotely close to anything that Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spags will be able to do. And this franchise as a whole, obviously, just in terms of the teams that they've been able to build over the last, like, 8 years or, however many years. Like, that much is all but a guarantee. Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll are not Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's funny. It's like my mind has completely slipped of like all the Super Bowl losers. I mean, here's the list, and honestly, I really only care going back to 2000. It's just like the Tennessee Titans, not the Kansas City Chiefs. The New York Giants in 2001, not the Kansas City Chiefs. The Rams getting a little bit closer. You're like, all right. The Raiders, not the Kansas City Chiefs. Carolina, not the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you got Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb. That team absolutely fell apart. Donovan McNabb was never really could really recapture what he was in years past, and that was the whole thing with T.O. and whatnot. Seattle, it's funny. Like I don't even really remember. It's like some of these games. It's like, wait, who the heck was even the quarterback? And isn't it Hasselbeck here? I believe. Yeah, Hasselbeck, right? That's not Patrick Mahomes. All right, Chicago. No, I remember that Super Bowl. That was such a boring Super Bowl. I feel like that score was not really what it was, right? With Rex Grossman. So it's just like that's what we're using to fill these stats here. It's just not the same. Kurt Warner with the Arizona Cardinals was just career ending. Yeah, man. I really think it's pretty straightforward here. I mean, again, you have a couple interesting things with like a Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin, obviously Tom Brady, but the vast majority, that's not the story here. This was Harbaugh and oh my God, what the heck's his name? Cap. I got there. And then yeah, man. I don't know. Again, here you have Denver Broncos. There's a few of these outliers where you're like, all right, great quarterback, maybe a good coach, but this is like, you're talking about historically great, literally the best coach quarterback duo of all time, in my opinion. And so, yeah, it's just, when I even look at numbers like this, I'm like, doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. Honestly, it really doesn't. I just think that there's absolutely zero chance of any type, any chance of a KC Super Bowl hangover. It's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I remember when I was younger, when I first even heard about that, right? When they were like, oh, if a team loses in the Super Bowl, the chances of them being great, blah, blah, blah. And I always kind of pushed back on that. I think when a team is a little bit more fragile, and to be fair, there's plenty of football teams that are fragile because they're able to just kind of build a team almost by accident, and a series of events that like get them over that hump, that get them to the Super Bowl. So many things needed to happen for that to happen, which is why you don't see a lot of repeats. And of course, you have to be lucky with injuries and whatnot. But when we're talking about teams that are historically great and run historically great, you're just going to see them be able to navigate these things so much better. Like, does anyone really believe that Andy Reid's going to run this team in a way where the players are going to have like a hangover? Like, absolutely not. Has Patrick Mahomes been broken by that Super Bowl loss? Obviously not, right? Like, has Spags just forgot how to run defenses? Obviously not. And that's also the thing. This also doesn't factor in that a lot of times a team reaches the Super Bowl and then they lose their coordinators, right? Like, there's other things that kind of happen. Key players will leave and get money, elsewhere or something. And I just, like I said, I just don't see that concern for the Kansas City Chiefs. No matter what. I'm very confident in saying that Patrick Mahomes, his entire career is the dynasty, just like it was for Tom Brady. It's just his entire career until the day he retires, outside of him potentially falling off a cliff. His entire career is the dynasty, and especially as long as it's him and Andy together. Maybe if Spags retires before Andy or something like that, and then the defense, you just no longer have the same level of confidence that defense is gonna step up or be able to be rebuilt during a year when maybe some players are starting to get older or whatnot, and develop some of these young guys. Like, maybe if there ended up being a little bit more questions about now the defense as well, you could say, all right, because then at that point Patrick Mahomes would be a little bit older. Like, you would just your opinions and views would have to be updated a little bit. But as in terms of 2025, at the very least, these next 2 years, these next 3 years, why something so extreme that a team that is so well run and has been so great with the two coaches and Mahomes will suddenly change? The only way that could happen is if Patrick Mahomes really does lose a step or two. I mean, that's the only way. And we don't know how someone like Patrick Mahomes ages. We don't know how Josh Allen's going to age. We don't know how Lamar Jackson's going to age. If anything, we probably have a higher degree of confidence of how a Joe Burrow will age, but he's been so injury prone and been banged up that, like, we don't really even have that, honestly. So it's just hard to know how some of these types of quarterbacks, because we've just never seen quarterbacks like them ever, honestly, in the existence of the NFL. So there's just no reliable way. But like, I just don't think we're gonna see Patrick Mahomes just like have a true decline, that it's just like, yeah, he's just not the same, and now they're gonna have to do this and that and this and that. At least not in these next 2 years, 3 years. Again, after that, yeah, you're starting to creep up in age, and now when you do get banged up, it lingers a lot more, and when you do get banged up, it actually ends up being like a legitimate injury rather than just something a little bit more minor. We know that that's how that happens, when you get older. But like I said, I just don't see that as a problem right now. But I mean, I am curious what Spags and Andy's exit strategy is, though, because they know retirement is a lot closer than farther, and they're certainly not going to coach longer than Patrick Mahomes will play. And so that also then becomes the thing where it's just like, when is it time for them to just be like, we're going all in right now? We're going to risk it, for it all, and just go, and do everything we can to win right now. And I think as much as the Kansas City Chiefs obviously want to keep winning, it's still there's still a lot of the future in mind as well. It's they're definitely in that tricky situation where it's just kind of like, we obviously have Patrick Mahomes, we obviously need to maximize him. In a lot of ways, it always feels like it's win now, win now, win now. But at the same time, it's like, ideally we got this quarterback for a long time, and we don't want to have ever a down year. So it can be a little bit trickier, whereas I would say like other teams don't necessarily have to worry about the sustainability factor. If the Buffalo Bills go all in, or the Cincinnati Bengals go all in and completely mortgage their future, it's like, all right, that's a swing that you probably have to take to try to get over this hump and finally win a ring for your franchise. Whereas Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they don't have that. Not to mention the Chiefs are, like we talked about in a previous video, it's just like Patrick Mahomes is trying to win 7 Super Bowls. Like that is ideally 8 for him, but like 7 is the target. Just like LeBron James said, like 6 was the target for him with MJ. It's just like, that is what the target is. And realistically speaking, it's another 4 Super Bowls in potentially 10 years. So got to get to work. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Any chance of a Kansas City Super Bowl hangover? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.